Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. And in this video I'll be going over the Minecraft 1.18 news of the last couple of weeks. So what this means is I'll be looking at the tweets by the developers of Minecraft to see what they're up to and what's going to be happening in the future. So if you like Minecraft videos like this one, then please make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more Minecraft videos like this one. But we will get started. So first of all, we did not get a new experimental snapshot yesterday, but we know that they're working on another experimental snapshot, which we'll see later on from the tweets. And if you missed the last video on experimental snapshot 4, then I'll leave a link to that video in the top right hand side of your screen, so you can check that out after this video as well. And if you want to know how to get the migrator cape, I have right here. And how to migrate your Mojang account to a Microsoft account, I will also leave a link to that video in the top right hand side of your screen. But now let's go over to the tweets of the last couple of weeks. So here we go, we start out with a tweet by King B-Dogs, who says, "My day experimenting with Axolotls and Sculk catalysts for reasons. How's your day going?" So this is quite odd. He's working on axolotls, which of course axolotls are already in 1.17. So we might see some sort of update to the axolotls in 1.18. Could this mean the green axolotl is coming to 1.18? Who knows? And he's also working on Sculk catalysts, which I don't think we've heard before. So that's pretty interesting. And then somebody replies here with this image of the Axolotl and Warden, where we see the two interact. So we might see the Axolotl and Warden interact in some sort of way, which is going to be very interesting to see in the 1.18 snapshots. Very excited for that. And somebody here suggests that the Sculk Catalyst is one of these blocks right here, which could definitely be true. And a couple weeks ago we also got a Bedrock Beta, which seems to have changed the light block so that you can actually see it when you place it down. And so this is for Bedrock Edition, of course. I mean, that looks pretty cool. It's nice to have some sort of visual to see where you've placed down the light blocks, as we already have in Java Edition with the little particles. Then another tweet by King B-Dogs. He asks a question here. So after playing 1.17 with the new ore textures for quite some time now, how does it feel? Has anyone gone back and looked at the old textures after? Yeah, so in 1.17 every single ore got a unique texture, right? And so he's asking if people are liking it now. And many people here agree, and that the new ore textures look way better, which is good to see. And then a very strange tweet here by Henrik Nieberg. He tweets a picture of him being frozen to death by a skeleton, which is quite strange because the frozen to death message normally comes when you stand too long in a block of powdered snow, but maybe if a skeleton shoots you at some point in time in there, it says this, I'm not quite sure. And then Henrik Nieberg has also been doing a whole lot of playtesting of the different experimental snapshots, so if you want to go through all of this, I'll leave links to all the tweets I show in this video in the description down below, so you can check these out, of course, follow the different developers as well, so you can check these tweets yourself when they come out. And Henrik has just been on a massive playtesting spree, showing all different kinds of things he's come across. And it's pretty cool to follow this and see what he has found along the way. And especially things like ice boating across giant frozen rivers is pretty cool, of course. Or, here's another one. Look at this. I'm so excited to play in 1.18. This is amazing. Then here a tweet by King B-Dogs. So he asks, how do you feel about mob spawning rates being independent of height now? So this changed a couple of snapshots ago, where they changed it so that mob spawning is independent of the height in your world. And he says that this new change attempts to solve a few problems. So first of all, long-term design upkeep, which I guess has to do with the increased world height and world depth. Then mob spawned less at the surface than 1.17. And furthermore, mob farms that can't be moved like witch farms were nerfed compared to 1.17. And so the last 2 points are due to the height of the world being deeper, meaning the bottom of the world is further away from the surface. Keeping the dependency of height for the mob spawning would then decrease these amounts of mob spawning as opposed to 1.17. Which is why they changed it. And if you have any opinion on this, then go to this tweet and reply with it, of course. But a lot of people actually seem to be pretty positive on this change. And then we have a beautiful developer tweet, which I always love, just seeing the different developers working on the game and then changing some sort of setting and completely destroying the entire game. So here's Henrik Nieberg. He says, this is what happens when you give aquifers too much control. Look at this. The ocean is just not there. It's just aquifers. There's floating islands up there. There's a shipwreck with no water around it. It's quite crazy. Always love to see these kinds of pictures. They added the saddle valleys. And so here we see an example by Henrik Nieberg in this video right here, So here we go, he flies through a saddle valley. So he says, this would have been a super steep, dry river gorge. Otherwise, I find this terrain to be more practical to get around and still very beautiful. In other places, the river will cut through the whole valley. So there we go, that's what that will look like now. Then a tweet by King B-Dogs, a genuine fear. The Warden goes the way of the Phantoms, where people find it cool at first, but then hate them as they get in the way during mining sessions. So yeah, Phantoms are not really liked by players. You just have to deal with them after not sleeping for a while. And it's just frustrating. King B-Dogs is scared that something similar will happen to the Warden. I don't really think it will, because it's just such a different mob. It's such a unique mob as the Warden. And I think it will be pretty cool to interact with it. And something else that King B-Dogs here says to a reply. So, well, with Phantoms, the player only has themselves to blame for not sleeping. Will there be a way to ward off the Warden? And then King B-Dogs replies with, theoretically, with the right care, you could move through the deep dark without ever encountering a Warden. So yes, there will be ways, and even when it spawns, you can get around it if you're good. So this, of course, gives us more information about the Warden, which is always nice. So apparently, the Deep Dark will be traversable without ever seeing a Warden. But, of course, the Warden will spawn in the Deep Dark, so you might still come across it. And I've also been working on the rivers a whole lot, where rivers get cut off by terrain. But this doesn't seem to be happening that often anymore, where you see this beautiful river not being cut off by all the terrain around it. And then something a lot of Barrack players will find very, very satisfying. Another Barrack beta got rolled out, and the eagle-eyed among you will notice the hotbar 1 pixel bug has been fixed. So in Barrack Edition, the hotbar was actually 1 pixel off the center of the screen, which was annoying a whole lot of players, but that has now been fixed, luckily. And then here's a poll by King B-Dogs. So he asks what people are more excited for, either the Warden or the Deep Dark. And we see that people are more excited about the Deep Dark as the biome as opposed to the Warden mob. And he also explained this further in a next tweet. So here we go, color me surprised that most people chose biome. That's definitely not the vibe I got from everyone asking about the work we're doing. I wonder if it's just because people know more about the Warden, so there's an element of mystery. And so this is definitely true, I think. So of course, about the Warden, we have lots of different facts about the Warden already. But about the Deep Dark as a biome, we pretty much have nothing. Of course, we have a little clip from Minecraft Live, where we see a little mine shaft with a deep slate. But that's pretty much it, nothing special there. Of course, there's a little hut and there's some candles. And we know of a couple of blocks that have already been shown, but really not too much. And so definitely this element of mystery is definitely playing a role in people wanting to see what the Deep Dark is about. Of course, for most people, the Deep Dark also includes the Warden, right? Since the Warden will spawn in a Deep Dark. I guess that's the main reason why people are excited for the Deep Dark, and of course also for the Warden, but there's just more information about the Warden already. Then a tweet by Hendrik Nieberg. Many people have suggested that beaches should place grass blocks above a certain Y level to make them look flatter. The trade-off is that the grass color won't match the surrounding biome. Worth it or not? And so he tweets some pictures of different areas without or with grass. And he also immediately tweets after this, okay, we'll probably skip this change. It seems to make some beaches better and some worse. Not worth it. And to be clear, we're not focusing on beaches in this update. The changes so far have only been minor tweaks to fix the most obvious problems. So don't expect any major revamps of beaches. So of course, they want the beaches to look nice, but they're not entirely changing the beaches like adding palm trees or stuff like that. That's not what they're doing. Then here is Henrik working on the game a little bit more. So another tweak, shattered terrain. The really crazy terrain you often see near coasts and swamps seems to be a bit too common. I'm testing replacing some of it with flat beachy coastlines instead. So it's the same location before and after. So this is before, where there's quite extreme terrain, and after there's some flatter terrain, some beaches around it, and it looks in general a little bit nicer. And he gives some more examples here as well. Just having more flat areas near the coastlines, giving it a more gradual slope, but you will still be able to find crazy coastlines like this. And here he also states, I think this provides better contrast between crazy and flat terrain, and is more build friendly and walk friendly, trying to find a balance between terrain that looks cool versus terrain that is practical to deal with as a player. So it's always difficult to balance these things out and to see what works. And then another tweet by Hendrik Nieberg about the mountains. So how often should the new mountains show up? Average distance. This map shows the current state. So the green and red blobs is the new mountains, and light and gray blobs are the plateaus and hills. Extreme hills and shattered terrain are not visible on this map, so the flat areas aren't as flat as they look. Here we go, so here's the view distance of a player that's standing in the center, and then a 2000 block radius. We see that there are a couple of mountains here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 maybe. 7 different mountains there. That's not a lot in my opinion, maybe. Of course, there are a lot more mountains right here. So if you spawn right here, you have a lot of mountains around you. But of course, there are lots of different biomes that generate in your Minecraft world. So I guess this is fairly normal. And then he further asks, how many days of walking in one direction should it take to find new mountains? In this picture, each yellow arrow represents about 1 day of walking, and the width is what you would see along the way. So yeah, we see that it sometimes only takes 1 day to find a mountain, but sometimes it can take 3 days to reach a mountain. So 12 journeys, 1 journey found mountain peaks in 1 day, 3 found it on day 2, 3 found it on day 3, and 5 journeys didn't even make it to a single mountain within 3 days. And so many people here respond that it should be slightly more common, but the generation is about right here, which I can agree with. And then we can look forward to a future experimental snapshot, so experimental snapshot 5. So Henrik Niebeck here tweets, okay, experimental snapshot 4 accidentally lowered the average mountain height and also accidentally removed most small hills, overhangs and cliffs, extreme hills terrain from otherwise flat areas. So the flat areas became very featureless, fixing both things for next snapshot. So that's saying that there will be a next snapshot, and here we see a beautiful comparison between experimental snapshot 4 and experimental snapshot 5, where we have a little bit more extreme terrain in experimental snapshot 5. And for those who like large flat areas, don't worry, those can still be found, but you probably see small hills and stuff on the horizon, like here to the right. Provides a bit of contrast, which is always nice. And then here we also have someone asking what's the hardest thing to do related to the world gen at 1.18. And then responds with changing the world height was and is a huge challenge to fix. All the side effects of that plus performance. Making the world bigger will of course slow down the game, so they have to find some sort of way to reduce that a little bit. Make sure that everyone can still play Minecraft in 1.18. And then a very interesting tweet here by Henrik Nieberg. So here's a comparison of world gen across each 1.18 experimental snapshot. It shows terrain elevation, roughness and biome placement. And of course this is a picture you want to stare at a little bit more and a little bit more detail. As I said, all the different tweets will be linked in the description down below, so you can check them out for yourself. But here we can see the difference between the terrain elevation, the terrain roughness and the biome distribution for experimental snapshot 1 through 4, and also for experimental snapshot 5 already, which is upcoming, so we should see that pretty soon. And we can see that these are mostly smaller tweaks, but with the biome placement, for example, we see there are smaller badlands around, but they gradually become bigger all the way along to snapshot 5. So we see lots of large badlands biomes here, which is good to see. There are also a lot more microbiomes in the first experimental snapshots that have been fixed here. And the terrain looks much more interesting here as well than in experimental snapshot 1. Then we have a tweet by King B-Dogs about the despawning of items. So how do you feel about items despawning after 5 minutes? Challenging or just unfair for the sake of unfairness? On multiplayer it feels like if those chunks are loaded, which they likely are, it can be unfair if you respawn far away. And so he asks if this is actually fun or interesting. And he does clarify down here, this is only for players dying, not normal items that are dropped by other means. So if you drop an item, they should definitely despawn in 5 minutes because there's different redstone applications and stuff like that. But if you die, you drop all your items and they despawn in 5 minutes. And the most common response right here is that it's not unfair because, of course, you can just turn on keep inventory. King Medox also responds, why is it almost every server I go on has keep inventory set to true? To me, this is because the game can be more fun without despawning. Personally, I always had keep inventory set to true because I really hated losing all of my items just because of one small mistake. So for me, I think it would be good to change this 5-minute timer to, for example, I don't know, 10 minutes or something. Because you already have so many different things that could destroy your items. Like if you're next to a cactus and you die, some of your items could land on there. If you're next to lava, some of your items could be destroyed by lava. There are just lots of different ways the environment already can destroy your items. And then just getting rid of it in 5 minutes is quite strange to me. But of course, we're not quite sure that I will change this, but it could be something they're working on right now. And if you want to share your opinion on this, of course, just go to the tweet linked in the description. And then finally, if you're interested in Minecraft Dungeons will be available on Steam from September 22nd onward. So you can buy Minecraft Dungeons on Steam from then as well. But there we go. That was all the Minecraft 1.18 news from the past couple of weeks. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more Minecraft videos like this one. I want to thank my tier 4 member, the Smikkelaar. Thank you so much for becoming a tier 3 member. If you also want to become a member, click the blue join button below the video to check out the different tiers. But there we go. I hope you all enjoyed this video and hope to see you all in the next one. So till then, bye bye!